So Tulsi Gabbard released one of her first ads of 2020. Let's take a look at that, and then I'll break it down.
Like so many of you, it is painful and disheartening to see how much divisiveness is being fomented by those who wish to tear us apart. We have people in positions of power who are not thinking about the well-being of the people and our planet. Where is that conversation about the needs of our people? Where is the conversation about peace? Every time we launch these interventionist regime change wars, it is not only our veterans who pay the price for that. Every single one of us pays the price. We have spent trillions of your taxpayer dollars to pay for these wars, taking those dollars away from our communities and our people who need them right here at home. We are the ones who have the power to make change. It takes every single one of our hands, our hearts, and our voices, motivated by this love and aloha, to take on those forces and those obstacles that can seem too great to overcome. There is no force more powerful than love. This is how we come together as Americans. This is why we fight for the future that we hope will be so much brighter for those that we care about, for the country that we love.
That was pretty good. Now compare that with Kamala Harris's launch video. We played that for you the other day. Go take a look at the segment I did announcing Kamala Harris's launch for 2020. Night and day. Kamala Harris her thing is just, they almost become that parody of a corporate Democrat that I've been doing on this show for years now. Of Tom Perez was the origin of it, but I'm for good things and against bad things, and let me know if you're for good things and against bad things too. And I think we should lead with our values because values are good and values are positive. Like, they say these just nonsense, flowery phrases and platitudes and cliches. And with Kamala Harris, it was like, unity, democracy. These aren't just words. Actually, in the list she gave off, it was just words. Because she didn't tie any of it to policies to say, hey, here's how this is going to relate to your life and how I'm going to improve it, and here's my comprehensive policy agenda. Now, listen, you could say, hey, Kyle, it's just the launch video. Maybe she doesn't need to run through her fucking platform in the launch video. That's a fair enough point. But here's my rule. Ready? Here goes. Name at least one policy? Just one. Just throw one at us. But so far, Tulsi's is the best. Because very clearly, what does she bring up? Now, there are something, it's all about love and aloha and blah, blah, blah. The thing that I like is that she literally said there, interventionist regime change wars. When was the last time you heard any politician use those words? Interventionist regime change wars. So in other words, for the first time in a long time, somebody's describing a pejorative for something that actually is a pejorative. You know, usually, what do they say about the non-interventionists? What word do they use for them? Isolationist. Ugh. So that's the pejorative, the negative connotation they put on something that's positive. Whenever somebody says, hey, maybe we shouldn't do offensive wars against countries that don't attack us, they're like, oh, I guess you're an isolationist. Now, why do they use that? They use that to smear people because it sounds like it has other, it sounds like there's other aspects to it as well, like trade isolationism and like totally detaching from the world in a way that's unhealthy. Like they try to make it seem like something that's really negative and really bad, but in reality, whenever somebody accuses somebody of being an isolationist, the reality is these people are not like pacifists that would say, hey, if somebody attacks us, we should just let them attack us. No, these are people who say, whenever we do war, hey, maybe it should be for defensive purposes. Maybe it should be to protect our country, if it's in a situation like that. So, for her to actually bring up interventionist regime change wars is honestly a breath of fresh air, because you don't hear that often. Even from somebody like Bernie, who I think is generally correct on most of the foreign policy issues, he doesn't put it front and center. And that's something I think Tulsi Gabbard is going to do. And if you notice something, the smears that are coming at her from the establishment media, they go after her on issues that she's not wrong about. Like, it's one thing if they were to go after her on issues where, I think she's actually wrong about those issues. Like, for example, the comments she made about torture, which I think are damn near unforgivable. I mean, I that really broke my heart seeing that, because I was like, God damn it, Tulsi, why would you say such a thing? But notice they haven't said a goddamn word about that. Nobody in the mainstream media has ever said anything about Tulsi Gabbard's thing on torture is questionable. Why? Because they kind of all agree with it. Okay, they kind of are all wrong on that issue. But when it comes to, what do they go after the strongest on? Syria. Why? Because she met with Bashar Assad. Listen to her when she says why she went. She's like, I don't know, I want to try to make it so we don't have war. And I think that's a good thing. So she's getting smeared in the same way that somebody would have gotten smeared if in 2002 they went and they saw Saddam. By the way, somebody tweeted me and made a good point. You know who did that in 2002? George Galloway. Guess what? George Galloway was viciously smeared for years afterwards. Because they, my Saddam sympathizer. That's what she, as if like you agree with dictators and criminals when they do crimes, as opposed to simply you taking the position of, hey, they may be bad guys, but that doesn't mean we should go in there and overthrow them. Because history demonstrates very clearly when we get involved and when we do that, the backlash, the fallout is worse. There's a literal word for it. The deep state calls it blowback. Why? It's because it's a thing that exists and we needed a term for it. Hey, when we overthrow governments willy-nilly, turns out that usually what fills the vacuum is worse. And it's not our position to do it anyway because we'd violate international law in the process. So here you have a veteran who's been to war who says, it's a bad idea. We shouldn't be doing these interventionist regime change wars. And I'm going to do anything to try to stop them from now on. And she's smeared as if she's the crazy person. No, the real crazy people, it's the neocon establishment, which defaults to war's always awesome. Now you have neocons in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. They don't go away. They latch on like a leash, and they don't go away. And they make the consensus. I mean, go watch MSNBC. The default position on MSNBC is, why would we get out of Syria? Oh my God, we need to stay in Syria, obviously. What? It's an illegal war, offensive against a country that didn't attack us. It's against international law. It's against U.S. law. Congress didn't approve it. What are you talking about? We want to fight on both sides of the war? That's the definition of a quagmire, and that's what we're doing. So it's a breath of fresh air to see a candidate put foreign policy front and center and not backtrack at all and say, no, I'm against these interventionist regime change wars, and if you disagree with me, you're wrong, and I'm going to argue against your position. So good for her. And I also like how, I don't know if you caught it, so she spoke about the interventionist regime change wars, and then she immediately went to, listen, we need to basically use that money to invest here at home. What are we doing? Brilliant. It's always been wonderful politics, but also wonderful policy to say, hey, I'm against, doing offensive wars and then nation building overseas. Why don't we take all that money and invest here at home? Our infrastructure gets a grade of D+. We have 76% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Flint, Michigan doesn't have clean water. The list goes on and on of all the things we can do to upgrade this country. I mean, you fly into some of our airports, it's not pretty. Other countries have much nicer airports. Why are we not building our own country here at home? So she's using, that's very populist rhetoric, and that's very important policy and good politics. So I think that even though the media is going to stop at nothing to try to take Tulsi down, and they despise her, make no mistake about it, I think she's going to do better than a lot of people think. I do. Because when people actually hear her, they're going to go, oh, that's actually perfectly reasonable. Instead of listening to what other people in the establishment media say about her. Because again, they're going to try to take her down. But when people actually hear her, they'll go, why? I don't understand. Why are they, going after her relentlessly? And here's how you know they're massively biased. Okay. I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I remember now. CNN did, a breakdown, little bios of all the candidates. And when it came to Kamala Harris, they said, oh, would be historic victory. Why? Black woman. Minority woman. And they paint like, oh my God, so positive minority woman. Oh, yeah. For Tulsi Gabbard, by the way, Hindu and female, that would be two firsts. They don't even say, they put in her thing, anti-gay or anti-gay past, which, to be fair, is true. In the past, she was anti-gay, but they weren't, they didn't put like Kamala Harris supported 3 strikes laws in California as Attorney General, supported civil asset forfeiture, fought to keep an innocent man locked up as she did on a technicality, by the way, because he was late with some paperwork. They didn't put any of that in Kamala Harris's thing. But in Tulsi Gabbard's, oh, okay, dig up whatever dirt you can on her past and we'll put that in there. And ignore the fact that it would be historic. Hey, listen, you're the people who want to play identity politics games. I don't believe in identity politics. And I've said that repeatedly. But you guys do. And mainstream media talks about it all the time. But see how they cynically weaponize it? Because they say for Kamala Harris, historic! Because the establishment would love her and she's also a person of color and a woman. The establishment doesn't like Tulsi Gabbard, so no more, not historic, even though she's a person of color and a woman. Such bullshit. It really is, and it really annoys me. There are legitimate criticisms of Tulsi, and I've laid them out, and I'll continue to do it moving forward as the election season moves on. But what I won't do is aid and abet the bullshit attacks. That's for sure. So, listen, everybody knows I'm very upfront and direct with my opinions on this show. Everybody knows that if/when, and it really is a when, Bernie Sanders jumps in the race, he gets my support. But having said that, I do my best to tell it like I see it, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to bend over backwards to be dickish to every other candidate, even if they say something good. I'll try to be as fair as I can across the board with every single candidate, tell you where I think they're right, tell you where I think where they're wrong, even though, again, I'm a Bernie Sanders guy, and if he hops in the race, which he's going to, he gets my vote.